That's right, we're back. We're hardcore crappie fishing. Greg won't stop talking about it, so we're just going to talk about it because all of us, in fact, all of us have a Garmin unit that has forward-facing sonar or live scope because we have Garmin, and we've been talking about snagging, and even though you were talking about a bass fisherman, I guess that could correlate into
what's happening with spoonbill now. Spoonbill a lot.
Right.
So, yeah, Dustin's doing that.
Yeah.
Over there on Grand.
And they're gonna give us a tag here on Beaver for.
Now is that gonna be like our dock we're supposed to get it 412 and our cleaning station we're supposed to get it? How many years?
They actually voted on that this.
How many years is it gonna take us to get our permit?
Supposed to be next year.
It takes in legislative, they propose something, they have to research it, and then they have to present it, and then the government, down in Little Rock, they vote on it,
right?
And then if they approve it, then they have the fiscal, the next fiscal year to do it. That's completely different than the state of Missouri. Missouri does not allow the government to be in control of the Missouri Department.
I also found out that
here it's not.
I also heard and understood that yes, they in the process of what you're saying on the game of fish, but then I guess if there is any fee change or whether it's a license change or if this permit's going to cost or whatever, then even the Senate gets involved.
Exactly.
So
that's legislative, and it runs through that, and so unless it's like a state of emergency, like say, like if Swebco was being drained down or something, and they need to make it so you couldn't keep any. We're pretty blessed because we're hardcore crappie fishing, and the crappie population is really good on Beaver Lake right now. So when you ride the high tides, of course this year is different. This is the first time in about 5 years that we haven't had high water, like water that's 1128 or 1129, and it stays that way for a long time.
They're getting a good spawn this year.
Yeah, the water's come up. So.
I think we've gotten good spawns before. We just didn't know it because of the way the lake level was.
Yeah.
So we had to have good spawns because I mean, look how many little fish we have.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, there's tons of little fish.
The recruitment years.
I mean, they go by in front of your screen in a wad of 100, and they're big as your little fish.
I like that one. It's about just a bit longer than your bait, and out there in 30 foot of water, about 5 foot deep, and you got stripers down here.
Yeah.
He ain't even scared. You catch him and go, "What are you doing?"
Because they're lost. But anyway, we were talking about snagging because Greg was talking about snagging and how a guy in a bass tournament.
Elite series.
Yeah, they said that the guy snagged it and Payton was snickering, and so I said that's actually a pretty good topic because fish. I think fish. Turn to their side, and especially depending on the species of fish. Stripers are renowned for running in packs, and the first one or second one hits it on the side. The one that's following it, it flashes at it, it grabs it. Or the one that trailers back, or the guy, that fish comes back around, hits it. But we've seen crappie behave where they turn on a bait too.
Yeah, so they miss. It's almost like they miss it.
Well, they
just brush
it. So is that snag?
So if I catch it on the outside of a mouth, that makes it. Do I snag it?
Did you snag a crappie? Have you ever snagged a crappie?
Well, we've caught them.
First.
I have caught them. Where
have you snagged a crappie?
Not intentionally. I mean, but I mean with since live scope.
Well, crankbaits.
And you're sitting there. Yeah. I mean, we've caught them foul hooked on crankbait. I've caught them in the back.
But they're talking about snagging when you're looking at it.
When you're sitting there looking at that, how many times has that fish, you think you got him, and then you feel, even though I mean, they can be a little time delay in your screen depending on what unit you have. So, and there's times that you feel the thump before that you actually see that fish hit that bait, or vice versa. That fish will run up there and you think he's got it, and he just brushed up against it, but it just happened to be just right where you hooked him on the outside of the mouth. So, is that considered a snagging? And what I was talking about on the bass guy, they're saying that the guy seen the bass on his forward-facing sonar, and he picks up a rogue, or a jerkbait rather. He didn't say rogue, just jerkbait.
Right.
And he throws it out there, and he literally snags that fish. He hooked the fish on the outside of the mouth. But how many times have you been bass fishing? Because you bass fish.
Yeah.
I used to bass fish a lot. How many, and even a crankbait pulling on crappie. How many times was that fish actually probably hooked with one of the other hooks inside the mouth, but the outside, the other hook had him on the outside?
Right, and then pull it off.
So did that make it where we snagged it, or did we catch it? That's my question.
That's it.
Did we snag it, or did we catch it?
So you're
Yeah.
spider rigging.
You catch them on the outside too.
Do you catch them all in the mouth?
I've caught them on the side of their
Yeah.
ribs. I mean, of their side.
So you're snagging illegal too?
I mean, I've caught them that way.
Greg,
I mean,
Greg got it going.
yeah, I've caught them that way several times. I mean,
So are we legal beavers or we're illegal?
Are we supposed to let that fish go that we hook in the belly?
I mean,
Yeah.
I like how you said legal beavers.
Yeah.
So the joke of that, in case you're not from Northwest Arkansas, is we're guides on Beaver Lake. So keep going on your thing. So
I've caught
you don't
several
think
there.
about it, do you?
No.
It goes in live well.
This just goes in live well. I don't think about it.
I think the whole moral of the story on all this
It's a
stuff,
double win.
it's just getting to the point, and I've seen it more. You know, we did talk about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago, a little bit about the live scope haters towards us crappie fishing it. But I've seen in the last week or so that the bass guys are getting hammered
Yeah.
with it, and you know, I mean, it's just almost unreal, and it's getting almost stupid because of the controversy it's causing between fishermen and stuff of what should be legal and what shouldn't be legal, and whether we should have it or shouldn't have it. And, I mean, it's just unreal.
So tell us, because you do a lot of live
Right.
stuff and roamers that are out there and catching them. Tell us how crappie bite when they're out there roaming, or even if they're in a brush pile and they come up. So they explain to people, because there are people that listen to this show that are not crappie fishermen, or ones that have live scope.
Well, I mean, take it as my finger as the bait. 90% of your crappie they come out in bird dog. Even if the water's muddy, they want to inspect what that is most of the time, and then before they finally commit and eat it. So I mean that's.
How many times have they passed your bait and hit your sinker?
How many times have they come up and went like that and just hit it and just?
Or hit
I
your
watched them
sinker
slap it,
above
yeah.
it?
Yeah, they'll come up. And I've got I use a little pencil sinker above my bait, and they'll come and just suck that in. Because I've caught them because it's wrapped a line around their jaw, and caught them on that sinker, and they had that sinker in their mouth.
Yeah.
Well, I've done spider rigging too. But most of the time, all of our crappie, they come up in bird dog. I mean, when I'm fishing brush piles or anything, they come up below it.
You see that? You're new at it. What are you seeing with live scope? You're newer at it.
I call it bird dogging because
You're newer at it than we are. I mean, all three of us had live scope as far as for crappie fishing
Crappie
reasons
fishing.
longer than you had. So what do you
I
see?
see the fish coming up and taking a pretty good look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I see in dirty water, if there's ever something where they're just barely hooked, where like, it's just like that maybe they don't see it as good, or anytime they turn their head and they really kind of want it and they kind of don't want it.
So what if I hook one in the bottom of your mouth?
Is that because they're going down?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking. How many times have you
You're
caught,
asking him.
how many times have you caught
Oh,
a
I-
fish
a bunch.
that he's
A bunch.
hooked in the bottom of the mouth, right by the tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've caught.
I mean, the hook is down. I mean, the hook's always gonna be up on your jig.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't
I
matter how you swim your jig,
I think it's
your
because
hook
he's
is up,
done, he's done this, he's come up and turned on it.
rolled on it.
Yeah, rolled on
Man.
it and ate it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was
I've
rolling
seen 'em
or
do
if
that.
it was going down. I've heard it going down.
I've seen them do that at the surface when the water's clear. They come up by the trolling motor and eat it. I've seen them roll on it. Go to get it back down because
But I've
they're
also
coming up
seen-
out of the surface.
I've also seen them roll more on it even in deeper water when their mouths are tender from the mayflies.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about when you put a tube
Mhm.
or what else do you use? But like a tube on your jig head.
Mhm.
How?
With your minnow.
Yeah, with your minnow, because that's a big bait.
Yeah.
Like, but the bulk, you've bulked that up.
Mhm.
Then most of the time they're hooked right up.
Yeah, most of them, that's a pretty good hook set with those. I mean, I never really, I mean, I'll hook them in the corner of the mouth or the roof of the mouth, most of the
Right.
time with those. Most of the time if it's under lip, I think it's like what you're talking about, it's where they kind of rolled up, I set the hook, and I think it's something to do with how the weight, how the weight of that rig travels and it's however they're hooked. It's something like that.
I didn't know, I just always wondered how they
No,
switched
okay.
that
Maybe
bait.
that was just slow on the hook set.
Well, this last trip I had with Misty and Matt, I've seen more fish go down on a bait because they drop below it and that fish will turn and go down and eat it.
Yeah,
Crappie.
Wow.
and
It's
that
always been
doesn't
known
happen
that
very
they-
often.
No,
Well, that's a myth then.
yeah.
Usually,
It's debunked. Yeah, they come down and ate it.
usually once it goes,
And they were getting it. And it's hard to get it out when they hook by the tongue.
and that's where they would be hooked
Uh-huh.
if they went down. So the down, evidently,
They were
Can-
aggressive enough.
can do
They
it.
chased it down, and a lot of them the bait would drop below them, and they'd hold it there, and they'd come down and get back up on it like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they're doing a roll.
Uh huh. They'd come back down, and that way they could just get back below it.
I seen, the other day when I had Tim and the two Tims, that's by Saturday, or Friday, last Friday. Cause you had Jeremy
Yeah.
and, I had some that followed their bait down, which is unusual.
Yeah.
I remember this coolest thing I ever thought happened. When I was fishing down here at Mill Hollow, this is years ago. It was me and my dad when he was still alive. We were fishing buckbrush, bobber fishing, little minnows. And I literally saw my bobber, you know, you see your bobber, you're watching your bobber. You see the tail fin of the fish. I mean, I'm fishing like in maybe 1.5 foot of water.
Mm-hmm.
And literally saw the tail of the fin of the fish come up to the surface and then go back down. You know, tail fin comes up, goes back down, then your bobber goes down. That was the coolest thing I ever
You
saw.
catching dolphin?
Huh?
Were you catching dolphin?
No, crappie.
crappie.
Well, you think that fish will have to adapt. If it's hungry enough, it's going to have to adapt and eat what it can.
We're whizzing shallow. I mean, it was probably 2 foot, 1.5 foot of water fishing, you know, foot underneath the cork, and he come up there and the top of the fin.
I caught a limit up the White River one time by Neil's Bluff, and all the crappie had crawfish in them.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
So
mean-
that mean, they had to be
Yeah.
eaten down.
yeah.
So I've been catching
Well,
some
that could
crappie.
determine, I mean, that'd have to be down lower to the bottom for sure, but, if there was some current in there that could be turning the crawfish, they could be up off the
I've
bottom.
been catching some crappie on jerk baits. And so
Pitching out there to 'em?
specifically casting to them, and that one sinks about 1 foot a second is what it's set on. And so because it's, you know, that big, they don't almost never get in their mouth.
Well, they get a lot of them on
They get
swim
the
baits.
front part that way, but then it's hooked some.
They're trying to eat it from the side?
No, it's usually they're trying to get the head of it.
Oh, they're coming
But
around to
then
get the
they
head
come
of it.
around, but they're not big.
Because they want to take that shad down head
Uh-huh.
first.
And then you end up with them all over. I don't consider it
So-
snagging because I don't physically see that fish.
What's it called if I have a crappie on my line? And then all at once this crappie starts fighting twice as hard, and I get it to the boat, and the striper has ate the crappie. Now how's that hook set, Colin?
I think
How about a
technically,
double?
yeah, double. I think technically you have to count that crappie as one of your 15 crappie.
Well, is that, well, if I will, if it's illegal
On your
crappie.
limit.
But the problem is, it depends on how that fish hits it, whether you can get that crappie out of his mouth to match with.
It may be in the stomach if it's small.
Biggest
But you're not supposed to use game fish
Yeah, that's
to catch another fish.
a freak.
The biggest black bass I've seen has been on a boat dock fish that come out and eat a 6-inch crappie. And they'll hammer.
I haven't had it happen all the time, but somebody I know had a striker hit their crappie just too recent. But that one had hit it from the tail. The one I did
Yeah.
hit it from the head
Mhm.
first, and we never got the crappie out because the fins would hit the roof of the mouth and couldn't get it out.
How about shooting boat docks? That
You look
shoot
on the
it
back sometimes.
You're coming
Yeah.
back at a pretty,
Or-
it's
or-
not a slow retreat.
Or underneath, I've hooked them in the belly.
Yeah, because it's coming back. Yeah.
If you're coming through a school of 1,200, which I've seen, I mean,
And if your line
happens.
bumps something, that's a bite. So you jerk.
Yeah, you hit it and I hooked him. And you
So
think
you
you
just
got a
snag
3-pounder on and it's really coming up and he's 12 inches, but you got him in the belly.
Better to snag him in the belly than hook the chain, no?
Yeah, I get it. Well, that gets him over a little bit. But I think bigger fish are easier to snag, and that's why the spoonbill things come up.
Oh,
So, and I've hooked lots of spoonbill with a crappie jig here, because I was told we could. We had to use a single hook on it that was on it one jig. Couldn't be a multiple hook. So, but you don't fight them very long, you know. They throw it out there and be like, I got him, and then it's like, look.
The hope pulled out on me last year, but I hooked one trolling on my
I
crankbait.
hooked 1 minute rig on one time.
I was messing with the guard last weekend. He come out and ate it. I held it in front of his face, and he.
Oh, Gar showing up.
guard. Ooh, guard showing
Gar
up.
showing
Damn, showing up.
Speaking of gore, so let's start showing up now. So where have they been all winter?
They go somewhere in the
Oh,
winter
no,
to, like, I think they go up Warrigal, because I've seen them up Warrigal, and they stack like cordwood. And they'll just be up
you
there
go
by
up
the
there,
trees.
I mean, and it's that time
Oh,
of year, you're
I
gonna
saw-
see them by the, and from that, even trolling, I've seen them on side imaging, I mean,
Hey, I caught one out from underneath the guard the other day, a crappie. Yeah,
That-
I showed Jeremy that. I said, that's crappie down there with that guard.
the crappie hang out underneath
Absolutely.
gar, and they hang out underneath those spoonbills.
Yeah, that's a secret. You need to make note of that.
Yeah.
If
because
you've got gar,
actually, you got a guard and
You
you're
got
trolling
big
crankbaits.
well, no, if you don't matter whether you're
Yeah.
trolling or whether you're single poling or spider rigging. You and I did up there in Warrigal 2 years ago. So we were fishing, me and Lance, and there was this huge school of shad. I mean, the whole screen was lit up with shad. And all at once they went to scattering, and them gar came in, and them gar, underneath them gars, they go through, you know how they are, they just nip
Chomp.
and then they turn around and get the deal. Well, the crappies are sitting there just
Yeah.
sucking them to, and that's when we went to catching them, that's when we found out the crappie will hang underneath them gars, especially if there's any shad around them.
That's right. That's
They
a tip too. And then that also works with,
shad too.
like if you're trolling crankbaits, because that time for trolling crankbaits coming up,
That's
and
hard
those
to start.
you're gonna lose a pico crankbait every once in a while, or whatever you
Or
guys are
bandit.
trolling. Yep, bandit,
Arkansas
so-
carping.
Yeah, because you're gonna get it sooner or later. You're gonna catch one because
I caught
they're
one
there.
2 weeks ago. I caught one with
Arkansas
Ed and his daughter. I thought it was a crappie.
Is it wrong
The
too?
way it
Really?
set the hook. I mean, a lot of times they set a hook. They bite like a
Mhm.
Yeah,
crappie. I just wasn't expecting gar yet.
Yeah.
And I set the hook on it. I was like,
You was wanting the other toothy
this is
feeder,
the
huh?
wrong flavor. I said, this is the wrong flavor. That
Mhm.
sucker came to the top and
You was wanting that,
It was
you was
probably-
hoping for the other
it was
toothy
about
feeder.
4 foot long.
Walleye.
But we're supposed,
Yeah.
we're supposed to get a snagging season for spoonbill here on the lake, so,
That'll be interesting.
and the record will be beat when that happens. So there's some big ones, you've seen them.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
they're
man.
monsters.
They hit
Oh
one
my
with a boat
gosh.
like they hit one with a boat like 160,
Oh,
170.
yeah.
How much that thing weigh?
But it's funny, cause you
There's a
come out-
200 pounder.
You can fish one day and not hardly see any of them, and you come back the next day and it's just like thick.
Yeah.
I mean, you see 5 or 6 of them.
Big ones.
All right.
That 5 foot long.
So, Snagging for, we've gone all the way around the spoonbill. Snagging, have you ever snagged a crappie?
Yeah.
Greg, yes or no?
Not on purpose.
No.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
No,
I mean,
Not
I think it'd be hard
I
to
think
do.
we're all in consensus of.
It has to be a big fish to be able
I mean,
to
I
get it.
have foul hooked
You-
crappie.
I could see somebody
But
hooking a
say
10
that
pound
actually-
largemouth with a jerk bait. Yeah, if he's sitting there, bring it over its back, the live scope. I
You'd
could
have to
probably
be.
I'd be good at it.
You'd have to be.
But
Yeah,
more
you
likely
do.
he'd eat it
It's
before
other-
it got there.
But,
Yeah.
so my
Well,
question
so-
is, so my
I don't
question
think-
on the snagging, it don't matter whether it's a spoonbill or what. So do you need to have that fish looking at you? Or do you need to have that fish side, I mean,
Spoonbill sideways is what I like.
yeah, but I'm saying,
Sorry.
Sideways, you're like 6 foot, Bill.
I understand what you're
Almost
saying.
anyone can get that.
But I'm just saying though, if that bass was, if you're gonna snag a bass and literally try to snag that fish,
I
I
think
mean, it's hard to tell whether that bass is gonna be straight on with you or
that-
totally sideways.
to me, you're not snagging unless you can physically see that.
See that fish
Physically
and-
see it, and so.
And
when-
actually know that you got your bait there to do it.
So if fishing for bedding crappie or fishing for bedding bass, and you visually see that fish, that would be snagging, but
Yeah.
they don't call that snagging, so it can't be snagging if you can't even literally see the fish
So,
on your electronics.
so can we start calling forward facing sonar sight fishing?
Yeah, see, that's the question, I don't think so, no, no.
Cause what you just said, you're sight fishing.
Yeah,
So-
well, that's what I mean,
That
to
means
me, that always
Forward
meant,
facing sight fishing.
that was always.
I
that
call it
was
video
always,
game
you know.
fishing.
Next.
It's video game fishing.
There you go.
Love it, I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyway, we are not
Hardcore.
snaggers, snoodlers, snoodle dickers. No, we are not. All I can say is we're hardcore crappie fishermen. So, like we always like to end the show, what do we say?
Hardcore crappie fishing.
There you go. Man, you're excited.